Hello, and welcome to this first session of the online course Teaching to Difference and Diversity. It's a course designed for teachers and others interested in joining in a dialogue aimed at ensuring that the world's best practice in school education is provided for all children and young adolescents, irrespective of their individual differences. The sessions in the course are designed so that people can watch them either in sequence as a whole course, or as individuals or clusters of sessions on particular topics. My name is Roger Marshall, and I have put together this course as a forum for sharing my ideas on inclusive education. They are ideas that have been forged in the heat of over 45 years engaged in teaching. Over 40 of those years were spent in schools in roles such as maths teacher, behaviour support teacher, resource learning support teacher, educational advisor inclusive curriculum, and the head of department social justice, and the last 7 or 8 years as a deputy principal in a high school. Since I finished full-time work as a teacher 7 years ago, I've been working as a part-time lecturer in inclusive education in teacher education courses at Griffith University in Queensland, Australia. I've chosen to publish this course on a website which is entitled teachingtodifference.socialgo.com. The full address will be found on a later slide in this presentation. That a colleague of myself, Christina Whitehead, are developing for the purpose of sharing our ideas and fostering a dialogue between people with an interest in the topic here in Australia and around the world. I look forward to engaging in this kind of dialogue with you and to hearing your responses to my work. In Module 1, I will set out to introduce the course in 3 ways. In this, Part A, I will look at a mind map of the course content and consider the kind of overall outcomes that I aim for participants in the course to gain from it. Then, in Part B, I will define the concept of inclusive education, considering its social justice agenda and the implications of that agenda for the way we approach the course. So let's start by having a look at an overview of the course. It's divided into 12 parts, organised into 4 modules. Each of the parts will be the subject of a presentation like this one. The parts are designed to be viewed in conjunction with each other, though it is hoped that each can be viewed independently by someone seeking information on just that one topic. You'll observe from the map that the first 3 modules serve as a background to the 4th, which is concerned with inclusive teaching practice and is dealt with in 8 parts. In Part B of Module 1, I will try to discuss the question of what inclusive education is all about. And in answering that question, I will argue very strongly that it's about 2 things. Firstly, it is about education that's for all students, irrespective of their differences. And secondly, it's about an education that encapsulates and fosters a set of social values that combat injustice and favour justice, freedom and democracy. I will then go on to try to discuss some of the implications of these views for the way I think that this agenda should be approached. Module 2 is entitled What is Driving the Move Towards Inclusive Education? In this module, my objectives are twofold. Firstly, to develop an awareness and understanding of the thinking that drives inclusive education and how this thinking manifests itself in areas such as public policy, legislation, research foci, and school and teacher practice. My second objective is to place the whole topic into a historical, social and political context. In the third module, I start by considering the kind of diversity one can expect to find in Australian classrooms. I then present a body of theory that I believe can explain this kind of diversity by linking it to our capacity as human beings for learning and knowing. Finally, in this module, I will look at the implications of this theory for our practices as teachers. As I stated earlier, Module 4 is dealt with in 8 parts that deal with the practice of teaching. The first part picks up on the discussion in Module 3 of how humans learn and builds upon it by considering an ecological theory of learning and the implications of the notion that all humans are excellent learners, the qualities of what they learn depending upon the environment that they experience. In Part B of Module 4, we look at the cyclic processes of curriculum planning and its role in the work of teachers. Then in Part C, we introduce the concept of Universal Design for Learning, UDL, a key idea in helping to make our curriculum practice inclusive. Part D is devoted to the notion of differentiation. Differentiation and UDL complement each other in helping us to produce inclusive teaching practice. A key premise upon which this course is based is that teaching is about relationships. In Module 4 Part E, some theories about relationships are introduced. In these, we clarify exactly what we mean when we speak of respectful relationships. The key behaviour or practice commended for educators in this course is one of critically reflective practice in the light of authentic theories. This approach is just as important in respect to relationships as to any other aspect of our practice. However, theories of relationships are often neglected in teacher education. In Part F, I look at applying the theories of respectful relationships that I've just introduced to our relationships with students. Respecting students, together with UDL and differentiation, are suggested as the overlapping cornerstones of inclusive teaching practice. As well as relating to students, teachers' work involves relationships with a range of adults. This is considered in Module 4 Part G, and again the ways that the theories of relationships introduced in Part E might be useful are discussed. In the final session, by way of summing up, I will examine a range of strategies, many of which have been talked about earlier in the course, that can be brought together to give us a tool bag that we can use to make our curriculum practices more inclusive and better aligned to the broad theories of inclusive education and social justice discussed in the early parts of the course. So, that's what the course looks like in terms of its content. Now let's consider what the course is about from the perspective of what we are trying to achieve. An essential element in any piece of curriculum design, whether it be a lesson plan, a unit plan or a course plan, is articulated goals. A useful way of thinking about curriculum goals is the KUD framework, which asks the question, what do you intend that participants will know, understand, and be able to do as a result of these learning experiences? I trust that you can see these questions reflected in the overarching goals for this course as they are described on the next slide. It's intended that as a result of participating in this course, students will gain a knowledge of what inclusive education is about in terms of the public policy, the legislation, the academic research and literature, and most importantly, the curriculum practices that relate to it. It's intended that this knowledge will be enhanced by participants developing an understanding of the thinking that drives the movement towards inclusive education and the social justice agenda of which it is part. It's further intended that during the course and after it, participants will do a great deal of reflecting on the implications of the knowledge and understanding gained in respect to inclusive education on their own philosophy and teaching, and in turn on their own teaching practice. Finally, it's intended that the participants will do some prudent decision making about their teaching practice in the light of what they gain from taking part in the course. That is, that participating in this course will impact on the way they conduct themselves in their professional relationships and in relation to their planning and implementation of curriculum in the classroom. So that concludes our overview of the course and its goals. Please don't hesitate to share your responses to anything you've heard on this session on the Teaching to Different website. I look forward to joining you all in future modules.